Hello, my name is Binoy and welcome to my TED Talk. I'll be talking about the relationship between school and a teenager's mental health. So throughout my childhood, I kept on hearing three different phrases, which was go to school, stay in school, and do well in school. However, I never realized or understood why I actually need to go to school, because I always thought of it as a class which gave you irrelevant information towards today's time. And with this rapid advancement of technology, it leaves the question if there's even any purpose of school. So this development of thoughts left me with the question on what is actually the relationship between school and teenage mental health, and that will be the topic this TED Talk revolves around. So now, in order to make sure everyone is happy and I don't get suspended from school, I would look at this question from two different perspectives. The first perspective are, let's say, call them the school people, which are the people that believe school is essential and useful for someone's life. And then the second perspective is from someone who believes school isn't useful to someone useful. And by exploring and contrasting these two perspectives, it presents us a common ground where we can understand the advantages, disadvantages, as well as aspects of improvement of school. Now, I'll start off with the advantages school have towards a teenager's mental health. Now, school is a thing that lasted for hundreds of years. And through my own personal experiences, I can say that school actually gave me the opportunity to develop certain skills and my overall mentality. This being my social skills, my critical thinking skills, as well as it just gave me a secure path for the future. So starting off with social skills. Before going to school, I was personally really shy and not able to engage or hold a conversation with anyone. However, through school, you're part of an environment which has hundreds of kids and teachers coming from different backgrounds and stories. And with this environment, it develops a student's mentality as through the interactions you have with these teachers and just sitting in class, your overall listening and communicating skills will naturally become better. And this skill is really beneficial in the future, as you will need it in life when talking to different people and just like sitting in a room and being able to effectively listen and communicate in a way where your point comes across. However, it could be argued that this skill can be learned elsewhere and not specifically in school, which is completely true. However, school is an environment where this skill is necessary and you need it in order to be successful. They teach you it from the beginning to the end, like through presentations and overall just being in a classroom where communicating is necessary. And another reason why schools help develop this social skill is it is expected to behave in a universal, respectful way. And by getting this taught through teachers, it overall makes teenagers develop this mentality in a positive way and learn how to treat people in a respectful manner and also listen to people in a respectful way. Moving on towards the second advantage, which is critical thinking. Now, there are many times where I was sitting in a class and the teacher was writing the most complicated things and I was left wondering on why am I even going to use this in real life? And through these thoughts, I realized that school was actually teaching us a bigger picture than just the content. It was teaching us how to construct and apply knowledge in a critical manner in real life. Not specifically content-based, but more on how to process and apply this knowledge. For example, if I were to write an essay about history, I would need to collect information from different sources, such as the internet or books, and then process this information in a way where I can deliver my point through an essay. And by knowing how to collect relevant information and process it in a way which is useful for yourself, that skill is really useful in the future when you're in your day-to-day life, when you're experiencing like just normal things. And another example of school showing us how to critical think is through the subject of maths. Now, the content might not be relevant towards your life or has any use towards real life. However, what is useful is the way we problem solve and how maths teaches us to solve problems. Through the class, we're trained on how to use our imaginations and find different ways and solutions to answer one problem. And by constantly doing this throughout school and any subject, we're developing a teenager's mentality on applying our imagination and just different solutions in problems, which is beneficial in the future, for example, in taxes or anything that revolves around a problem. Now, lastly, the last advantage is that school actually gives people a more secure and general opportunity for the future. And it could be argued that you don't really need school for a good future, or that people believe that school is not useful for the future that they're destined for, which is completely true. However, you could argue that because of school, it creates a secure way for a successful future. For example, through following core classes such as science, maths, English, or the humanities, it gives students a scope on what they like and what they don't. And through having this scope, they're able to learn and identify what they're passionate and interested about. For example, I tend to like the humanities more than any other subject, causing me to lean on that specific subject and identify that I want to have a future with that particular thing. And because of school allowing me to experience all these different classrooms and subjects, it develops my understanding on what I want to do with my life and what I don't want to do with my life. And overall giving me the opportunity to pursue a future that I'll be happy with and interested in. Now that I shed light towards the advantages of school, it's important to look at the disadvantages now. Now, through me and my peers' experience in school, I believe that there are three main disadvantages schools have towards a teenager's mental health. It affects their value, it gives a scope on what their intelligence actually is, and it's very outdated. Starting off with the value of a student. As school is very precise, everything is dependent on numerical values. For example, you get accepted to universities based on your grades. You do well based on your grades, and when it comes down to it, everything is dependent on what your grades are. Now, let's say there's a situation when someone is really smart, however not school smart. Wouldn't the grades be a false depiction on what their intelligence actually is? Now, because of this grading system and the word failing being a number, it can demotivate students as well as devalue them as they're seen as a number rather than what their intelligence actually is. An example of this is being the CETO-toets. The CETO-toets is a test in the Dutch system which tells you what study scheme you should go to. So let's say there's a situation when someone performs bad on the CETO-toets and they're sent into this study scheme which doesn't lead to a university. This stereotype and this label of being in that specific study scheme can demotivate a student on trying to achieve on what they're truly capable of. And also by being in that specific study scheme because of performing bad on the CETO-toets, it can also limit the opportunities and ways on improvement and overall just make the student boxed in that specific study scheme without any ways to improve himself. Moving on, I believe that the testing system in school is inefficient as well as outdated. This is because the testing, or what they test, is specifically on the content in the syllabus rather than the skills needed in real life, causing students to develop the mentality that school is actually useless and what they're being tested for, it has no purpose in their life. Because of learners processing and learning information in a different way, it could be considered unfair for schools to heavily rely on exams as a way to test a student's capabilities. This is because I believe that if schools find different ways to test this, it allows the students to effectively showcase their intelligence in a way which is helpful for themselves. Another disadvantage is how schools don't understand the importance of having a solid relationship between the teacher and the student. This is because the interaction between the teacher and the student can affect on how the student perceives school and overall his motivation towards school. In my own experiences, when a teacher is considered good or treats me with the passion to help me learn, I overall perform better in class as well as get more interested and attentive in the actual subject. However, if the teacher looks down towards the student, it can overall demotivate the student to achieve what they're truly capable of due to a sense of self-doubt. Seeing both sides of what school offers, we can now take the opportunity to break reality and find aspects that school can improve on. The first improvement being technology. Schools are heavily outdated and still using a system which was present a century ago. With technology overall advancing, it's possible for schools to implement this advancement in their own education system, creating new learning skills and ways, and also helping students develop new skills for the future job opportunities. Another sense of improvement school can do is a higher variety of classes. Schools always have a focus on specific core subjects such as science, maths, English, and the humanities. However, if the school expands these subjects towards different ones such as computer science, arts, and prioritize them as much as they do with the core subjects, it can help the students develop an understanding on what they like and broaden their overall sense on what they want to do with their life. Another point of improvement would be if the schools have more engagement with the students. This meaning that schools will actually implement and listen towards the students' feedback and using this input to develop their overall learning environment. So when schools actually use this information and feedback given by the students, the overall learning environment will become better and the students will feel listened to and overall feel more important and less looked down on. The last point of improvement school needs to focus on is to be constantly advancing and evolving instead of being static at one specific time. And by doing this, it will always develop further and further according to the time it's in. So yeah, that was my TED Talk, and thank you for listening to it. Yeah.